Welcome back, guys, to the Why of It All. We are so excited to be back with you guys today, and we have a special guest. So, today we're so excited to welcome Dee. She's a soul evolution mentor, writer, and the host of the Spiritually Speaking podcast. She's also the creator of the 12 Pillars of Self Love Journey and a talented twisted wire artist. Dee's work centers around guiding others on their path of self discovery, healing, and spiritual growth, and we can't wait to dive into conversation with her today. So, without further ado, we're going to welcome Dee on.
And here she is. Welcome, Dee.
Thank you so much, ladies, for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate you.
I am so excited to have you on, and we have to say, we found each other organically,
We did.
And we've been talking the last, week or so, and we just thought, you know what? Let's have her on and let's have a talk and let's just talk about healing stories and journeys and everything that you're doing right now with your podcast too, Dee.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. Holy crap, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
It is so a lot, but it's so much fun to be able to make these kinds of connections and bring people together. And your theme for your show is a little bit different from ours, but that's why it's so great that we can all come together and have these kinds of conversations that are complementary and see what we can all bring out of each other.
Yeah, it's true. And we're all in this together. So we're supposed to be lifting each other up and encouraging each other, promoting each other. I don't live in the space of competition. So I love being on other people's shows and having them on mine and just, like lifting each other up. I just think it's so beautiful and so necessary in this world.
Absolutely.
100%. Dee, where can we start on your journey that led you up to becoming a podcaster? Like where do we start? Like
Yeah,
where do you want to start
it's a
in your
winding
journey?
road. It's a winding road. It really is. So actually, I don't know exactly where to start. I got into the life coaching arena because my parents crossed over about 4 years ago now and left me
Sorry.
a little bit of money. Thank you. So I decided to invest that in myself with the encouragement of a good friend of mine and go into life coaching. I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, I had no clue. And I'm not like, I'm ever the spiritual student and ever the student of life, but I am not ever the student in a school. Like that is not me. I don't need a bunch of degrees to
I
tell
resonate with
how,
that. Yeah.
how amazing I am and to prove my worth or anything like that. So that's
Yes.
when I ultimately got into the coaching mentorship arena was about 4 years ago.
Okay.
But prior to that, the piece of my journey that led me to this space is I was in one toxic relationship after another, starting with a 20-year marriage that was very verbally and emotionally abusive. And, was single for a little while. Then I got in another long-term relationship that was even more verbally abusive and actually had some physical abuse too. He actually almost killed me. That's not a story that I have shared too much. He actually got on top of me and choked me. You hear about people seeing pinpoints of light.
Yes.
I could see only pinpoints of light, the very smallest light in my eyes. And I just had this thought, I'm going to die right here with this Neanderthal on top of me, And then I was single for a little while again and got in another toxic and physically abusive relationship, which I actually still, you can't see it on here, but I actually still have a scar. My head was split wide open right
From
here.
what?
So I was washing my face in the bathroom and he reached in and grabbed a hold of my wrist. The sink was kind of to the side of the bathroom door, and he grabbed a hold of both of my wrists and snatched me out the door. And my head hit the door frame and just split my head wide open. I could, when I looked in the mirror, I could see my own skull. It was crazy. So, fortunately, I have a background in nursing and I knew what to do to, keep myself, I put a wash rag and put a bandana around my head as tight as I could get it. And I drove myself to the ER actually.
And he wouldn't even drive you to the ER after that?
Girl, no, because he was afraid of going to jail.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and I actually didn't tell them that he did it. I actually lied and said
Did
that
you
I
really?
tripped. Yeah, I did.
You
And
were,
there's a long story behind that, but I felt like it was because of his mother. It wasn't
Mm,
because of him. It was because of his mother that I did that. And yeah, so that
mhm.
was pretty interesting. And I didn't leave because this is what is so important for people to know. People who are abused, and men are abused too, not just women.
Yes.
I want to make
Yes.
that very clear. But it's
Yes.
easier for us women to admit it, even though it's still very hard for us because it's just different when a man is abused by a woman. It's a completely different thing. But an abusee will leave their abuser an average of 7 times
Mhm.
before they actually leave for good.
yeah.
It's bananas. You'll keep going back. So when I got my head
Yes.
You've
split
covered
open,
that.
I actually didn't
Yeah.
leave.
Um,
It's
I I have such a similar story,
Yeah.
not of physical, but mental, verbal, and emotional that I literally just got free of this year. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I resonate so deeply, and it took me 3.5 years, but on and off.
mhm,
I went back to my abuser over a dozen times. It
Yeah.
took me longer than seven.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So I have so much empathy because I know what it's like to want to be comforted by your
mhm,
abuser, which is crazy as that sounds.
yeah,
If you've never been in an abusive relationship, people from the outside can look in and go, "Why are you doing that to yourself? Why
yeah,
just stop?" And there's a dynamic there that is not
yeah,
understood, right?
yeah,
Makes so much sense, Dee.
Yeah.
yeah,
So anyway, continue. Sorry.
yeah. So inside of that relationship, as I started exploring on YouTube. Like I have to leave this relationship. I have to get myself strong enough to leave. I knew that I wasn't strong enough. I knew that I didn't feel worthy of being out there. And he reminded me often, every chance he could get, you know, no one's going to put up with your pussy ass feelings, he would say to me.
Mm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to
Mm-hmm.
just, it was awful. It was awful. And so I started exploring on YouTube and I had no idea what I was looking for. No idea whatsoever. But I needed to find something to help me get stronger. So I found people like Joseph Murphy and Wayne Dyer
Mm.
and, Marissa Peer, who wrote a
Oh
book
yes.
literally called I Am Enough because, and I did what she said. I wrote I Am Enough everywhere. I had post-it notes everywhere. I took permanent marker and wrote it on my mirror.
Mm.
And when
Yeah.
you first, and I'm going to get emotional, when you first start saying that to yourself, you're
Yeah.
like, I'm so full of shit. I'm not though. I'm not enough,
Mm-hmm.
You don't
you
believe
know?
it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. We've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep going with it, if you keep listening to people who are reaffirming you and telling you how to get yourself stronger, and trust me, I highly recommend coaching for this or mentorship or therapy or something
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have the money for that. And I had to go
Mm-hmm.
to YouTube for it
Mm-hmm.
because YouTube is available 24/7. So
Yeah.
even when you need that extra boost and it's like midnight, you can go there and you can listen to Wayne Dyer say these beautiful things so that you can reaffirm in your
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
own mind and your
Yeah.
own heart that you really are enough and you're capable of so much more, having and being so much more than what you're in right now. And so I was finally able to get away from him after about 6 years of being with him.
Mm-hmm. Can I
And
ask you what, because everybody's got a different story, what was the final straw? Or was
Yeah.
there a final straw? I always find this fascinating because sometimes it's something really dramatic and sometimes it's just
mhm.
a small thing. What was the final straw for you?
So I was working for him because he had his own business and
Okay.
he refused to pay me. Like he said that I had everything I needed, so he didn't need to give me money because the money stayed in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up because it was a construction type business, and I was like, you know what? Like I'm so over all this heavy lifting kind of stuff. I want to be a girl again. I want to like do something that's not so heavy and strenuous and working in the hot. I live in Florida, so it's freaking hot
Yeah.
here in the summertime. It's no joke when you're outside,
Right.
doing these things, putting up privacy fences, wooden privacy fences, and things like that. It's heavy work and hot. So I wanted to work in the AC. I wanted to become a girl again. And so I got a job, believe it or not, at Home Depot, but at least I was inside,
At
right?
least you're indoors, yes.
Yes.
And I had my own paycheck coming in because it's direct deposit. And then one day, I got asked out by a customer, and I debated on whether to tell him or not because we shopped there all the time for his business. You know, that's where we got our supplies for things we needed. And I was like, I don't want to say anything, but then if I don't say anything, he knows, like everybody in here, if someone else were to say something, then it's going to look worse coming from them than me. What was I hiding it for? Blah, blah, blah. So I went ahead and told him, well, either outcome, I was screwed. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, either
Right.
way of going down that path, I was screwed because it wasn't going to be received in that way. And of course, we have no control over someone else's actions. I can only say no to the request. I can't control someone else asking me the question.
Right.
So that didn't go very well, and it off and on for a few weeks we, you know, kind of argued about it and everything. Well,
Mm-hmm.
then I had to leave and I had to take time off of work, and I hadn't been working there very long because I had to go to Indiana because one of my grandsons was dying. And so I went through all of that, and I came back, and I wasn't even back 2 weeks. And I had a little organic garden,
Mm-hmm.
and I had neglected it. First of all, I'd been gone, and then I came back. I had just gone through this traumatic event, and I was still grieving really heavily when I got back, you know?
Of course.
So the last thing on my mind when I first got back was messing with that garden and getting the weeds and all of that out and cleaning it up and all of the things. And so he approached me one day and basically gave me an ultimatum that I was either going to quit Home Depot and come back to work for him or we were done. Well, I'm not going to quit the only source of income I have right now. That's insane. Why would I do that?
No.
So, and plus I already said I was done working like a man. So I didn't want to go back to that type of work anymore. So I told him no. And I just kind of walked to the back and started getting my stuff together to pack my stuff because I wasn't going to be told what I could do anymore, you know? And so he mentioned to me about, because he was one that couldn't let it go. He had to be ratchet jawing the whole time behind me. You're not packing fast enough, blah, blah, blah. All this crazy shit was coming out of his mouth.
Uh-huh.
And then he mentioned my garden. And I was like, I don't even know what to say to you right now. Like in my brain, I'm thinking that. But what I actually did was turn around and scream at him so loud that it actually hurt my throat. My grandson just died,
I've been there. I've
you
been
know?
there.
And
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what he said to me?
What?
How long are you going to use that as an excuse?
What?
Yeah.
What's
And I thought, and I can't tell you, like the only thing I could say was whatever. I don't even know how many times that word came out of my mouth. It was just on repeat because I was like so in complete shock that someone could say that to someone.
Yeah.
Like, how cold is your heart? Like, do you even have one? Like, what
Right.
the actual hell, you know?
soulless?
So I thought, you know, if I wasn't already packing, I definitely would be now. And this like completely put the nail in the coffin on that relationship because how could you even think of living with someone after they say that to you?
No.
So
Yeah.
that was the day, that was the
Yeah.
defining point in that relationship where I knew that I was leaving and I was not coming back. And I didn't
And you
go back.
didn't. You did not look back.
No,
Wow. That is
no.
that's huge. Did you have to block him? You know, no contact? Did
Oh my
you?
gosh, I had to block him. I moved in with a lady that I worked with, and I made sure that he didn't know where the location of that house was. And when there was actually a hurricane, and we had gotten this house together, like it was a rent to own, and both of our names were on the contract. And I had gone through the process of getting my name off of the contract, but I never even thought about getting my name off of the insurance policy.
Mm.
So there was a hurricane, and apparently that house sustained some damage, and there was no lights on at Home Depot. Like that's how fresh the hurricane was. Like we still had auxiliary power, not full power.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in there to find me, to tell me that he needed to know how to get in because I had blocked him from everything. I need to be able to contact you. And I'm like, you don't though. I will
Yeah.
take care of it. You do not need to know how to contact me. He
Mhm.
literally kept coming after me. And so I didn't realize until later someone told me I was literally running through the store. I went
Oh.
to the back where receiving is because I knew that there was a lot of people back there
Mhm.
because we were getting a lot of generators in and different things like that. So it was constant people back there. And I went back there and I actually hid behind a stack of pallets. And
Wow.
yeah. And
Yeah.
the only thing that I regret about that situation that I don't understand, I don't necessarily regret it, but I don't understand it, is
Uh-huh.
there were police outside because of the state of the store and everything. There
Sure.
were police outside the front. They were like camped out up there. And my manager would not let anyone contact the police and get them to come inside. I never have understood why she said no to that.
That is
But I mean, he threatened.
interesting.
I could hear him behind me. He was threatening to kick the asses of a couple of my
Mhm.
coworkers, and it was really crazy.
So that's intense. That
Mhm.
Mm,
obviously there was emotional abuse, but physical
mm,
abuse also. That
mm,
is a hell of a thing to try to recover from.
Mhm.
What did your healing journey look like from that point forward? You finally have found the reason and justification to take the step to leave. And that's hard in
mhm.
and of itself. Going forward from there, what did life look like for you in terms of trying to recover and heal from that
Mhm.
intensity of abuse?
You listen, and it's different for everyone, but I was so freaking
Mm-hmm.
proud of myself for finally leaving and
Yeah.
sticking to that decision and protecting myself in the way of like making sure that he didn't know where I was or when I was at
Mhm.
work. My roommate actually, after that incident, told me to drive her car to work so that he wouldn't even see my vehicle in the parking
Mm,
lot and know when I was working. I changed my
Smart.
shift to where I was working in a different part of the store at a different time of day. And,
Perfect.
I was so proud of myself and, but I still had a lot of residual fear and anger,
yeah.
Yeah.
like anger with him for being the kind of person that would treat someone like that.
Yeah.
Um, Anger even at his mom for like protecting him in the way
Mhm.
that she did so that
Mhm.
he felt like it was okay to be like that. Anger at myself for allowing myself to go through that because I always thought I would never be that person. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
really felt like I would never be that person, and I was. And it
Yeah.
damaged a lot of the relationships in my life. It damaged my
Mhm.
relationship with my children. It
Yeah.
damaged and like annihilated the relationship I had with a few of my friends. And,
Yeah.
because people don't understand, like you said, they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
understand the dynamic that goes
No.
on inside of
No.
the way they make you feel.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, and I had my own personal stuff too. Like I was 50 years old when I was out of that relationship.
Mhm.
I turned 50 just a few months after I got out of that relationship. And I was like, again, another relationship has failed. Like I
Yeah.
didn't want to admit that. I didn't want to start over. That's what kept me there for so long because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be starting over again.
Yeah.
And, like it's with nothing because, of course, everything that I brought into that relationship, most of it, he consumed as his own, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, like I had so many tools and stuff, even when I got in that relationship that are just like he kept because he felt entitled to those things.
Yeah.
And so, you start over, you don't hardly have any money,
Yeah.
you don't have a place to stay. You've been
Mhm.
alienated from everybody,
Yeah.
you don't really, I mean, what do you do? So
Yeah.
knowing that you walk out the door in that situation, it's very intimidating and
Of
very
course.
like stressful to feel like
Yes.
you failed one more time. You feel like it's a reflection on you.
Of
But
course.
over the course of those months and years, I had been listening to all of these podcasts and all of this content that these other people so amazingly and graciously put out there to share for free.
Yeah.
For
Mhm.
free. I mean, I had to
Right.
piece it all together to get what I needed for my soul
Yes.
to heal, but
Yes.
it was there for me to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And, I promised myself that I would never be in a relationship again or in any kind of situation where I tolerated people speaking to me in that way or making me feel that way.
Mhm.
So, and I have
Mhm.
stuck to that. I've stuck to. I can't control how other people do things, what they say, how they act. But I can 100% control whether I stand there and take it or I turn around and walk away and leave you yelling at
Right,
your son.
right.
You know.
I don't know about you, Dee, but did you feel a lot of when you were in the relationship, the toxic relationships, the abusiveness? Did, I remember feeling a lot of guilt and shame over
Yeah.
staying and going back and being almost really embarrassed, if I'm
Yeah.
being quite honest, having to tell my friends, oh yeah, he's back, or oh yeah, I took him back, or oh, there was so much guilt and shame
hmm
uh, over my behavior because I was
Yeah.
participating. Like you said, it takes two.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
say no at any time and you can stop, but the trauma bond for me was so strong that it's like the person who hurt me the most, I also found the most comfort from, if that makes sense. I don't
hmm
know if that resonates with you, but I just remember having so much shame over
hmm
the relationship, but still not knowing how to quite break free.
Yeah. I was
So,
totally embarrassed, and I don't necessarily feel like I felt comfort from him. What I felt comfort from was having a home. Even if it was
Yeah.
completely fucked up, I had this home that I could go to and I could sleep there and I could eat there and I could have coffee there and all of the things that I
mhm.
did. I had a place to put my clothes and to lay my head at night, even though it was, all of this stuff was going on. I don't feel like I can understand how people do feel that way, but I really don't feel like I felt comfort from him because he had
Okay.
such a mean mouth. Holy shit.
Oh,
Like,
mine
and he
did
was
too.
so proud of himself about it,
Uh-huh.
you know?
But it's like there were those little pockets though of in the mask that he would wear that the behavior would be good. There were good times, and I think I clung to those
Mm,
moments where he was showering me with, he was love bombing, he was, doing things kindly for me, and he was showering me with gifts. And I mean, he knew how to get me back into his good graces. He was
yes.
very, very calculated and very,
hmm
very good at it. And so I would find those moments of when I was happy or when we had a good night, and I would cling to those moments, if that makes
Yes.
sense, right?
Oh, it makes 100% sense to me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And, the thing about it is, I encourage people to look at how it plays out. What is the percentage of the time that you're feeling good in this relationship? And what is the percentage of the time that you're not feeling good in this relationship?
Mm,
If you're not feeling good is way up here and you're feeling good is way down here, then that's a fucked up relationship and you need to
right,
consider what you need to do to put yourself, especially if you're in physical danger.
for
If you're in
sure.
physical danger, then you absolutely need to get yourself in a safe place. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the one thing that I have really learned through the journey of these toxic and abusive relationships is how much abuse actually happens that we dismiss as not being abuse.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah. Oh,
incredible. It's
Right.
I mean,
incredible.
it is incredible what we consider because you're so conditioned to that
hmm
type of verbal, communication and that type of dismissiveness and just the constant control. You're right. There are
Yeah.
things that you justify, right? And
Right.
Yeah.
oh, that's not abusive, or just because he
hmm
told me
Right.
what to wear today, that's not abusive, or because he told me to not put on so much makeup, that oh, he was just. And so I resonate with that
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much.
Hey everybody, it's Melanie from The Why of It All. You guys already know Gina and I are passionate about healing mind, spirit, and body. And that's why we're proud to be sponsored by a brand whose passion for wellness runs as deep as ours, Tulip Blooms. Tulip Blooms is a family-owned American small business that handcrafts a variety of small batch premium skincare products, such as their original flagship product, Rainfall. Rainfall is a luxurious, lightweight face and body lotion made with soothing aloe vera and a powerhouse blend of cold-pressed botanical oils like jojoba, rosehip, and evening primrose. Rainfall is my go-to daily body lotion. I love that it's made with only the highest quality of pure, clean, natural ingredients. There's no synthetics at all, and it absorbs quickly, delivering lasting hydration without any greasiness. There are many scents to choose from, even unscented, but my favorite is rose geranium. Rainfall is gentle enough for the face, nourishing enough for the body, and the perfect daily go-to, especially after sun exposure when your skin craves extra care. Visit tulipblooms.shop and use our exclusive promo code HEAL, that's HEAL, at checkout for 10% off your order.
Now, let me ask you both a question. I'm interested in what both of you have to say about this, because you said the word justify. And I was having some thought processes going on in terms of justification. Do either of you feel like remaining in those abusive relationships for as long as you did gave you the justification for held beliefs about yourself that their behavior towards you validated? So, for example, limiting belief systems about yourself. I'm not worthy of something better than this. I'm not lovable. I deserve this. I'm not deserving of something better. You know, these are obviously not, well, maybe not obviously, maybe some people's cases, these are cognitive thoughts that they're actually thinking. I know people who do that. But also in many people's cases, they're deeply held subconscious beliefs. And it is, I believe that the limitation programs that we're operating from, even the subconscious ones, our world will reflect that back to us.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if either of you have ever considered that. Did I have beliefs in place that this abusive person was validating for me? Because I think in many people's cases, they'd rather be right than free. And even if the rightness of their point of view is a deep, dark, gaping wound within them, we want to be right.
Yes, we love it.
And this treatment of us validates,
Justifies.
and justifies
Wow,
those points of views. Is that something either of you have ever thought about? And then in hindsight, reflecting right now, does that resonate with what your mental state was and your emotional state was at the time?
Absolutely.
Dee, you want to answer
Absolutely. I 100% feel that way, you know, and that's why I'm like, I remember one day, and I've shared this story on my own podcast a few times, but I remember this particular day that was getting towards the end of the situation. And of course, I wouldn't say things out loud to him a lot of times because he was so volatile. You know, like I've had friends who would be like, I would do this and I would do that. And I'm like, yeah. And he would kill me. Like he literally would kill me. So I'm not going to do that because that would be my death sentence. But I remember this day when in my head, like he was just raking me down this list of things that were horribly wrong with me. Right. I'm sure you've heard those things, Gina.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, so he was very proud to be taking me down this list. And in my head, this giant sheet of paper appeared and this pen. And every time he would say something, I would see it written across the piece of paper. And in my brain, I would ask myself, is that true? Is that really, really true about me? And I would say, no, that's a lie. And of course, all of this is happening like real time in my brain so quickly, you know, and then the pen, when I would say that's a lie, the pen would cross it out. And then the next thing would be written. And I would ask myself the same question, is this true about me or is this a lie? Well, it's a lie. And the pen would cross it out. And that happened with everything he said. And then that was very empowering to me because I thought it doesn't matter what this creep says to me. It doesn't matter. It is my choice whether I believe it or I don't.
Love
you know?
that. Yeah. Oh,
yes. And that was really a strong turning point for me. And that's when I really dove in to learning to love myself even more so that I could get strong enough to leave. And it wasn't long after that before I was able to make those final steps to get out, you know?
That's awesome.
And then of course he hammered that last nail in the coffin so firmly that there was no way I would ever have considered going back to him.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. Wow. That's such a powerful, what your mind did with the paper.
Yeah.
You know, I remember in the thick of it, in the abusive relationship, having a dream about him in the dream, he was a leech and he was stuck to my rib. He was, do you remember this? Remember I told you about this?
So
I dreamt that there was this leech that was stuck to my rib and it was a big black leech and it was literally sucking me dry, which I would always, in my mind, whenever I'm going through it, I would always be like, he is draining me. Like, he is
Yes.
draining the life out of me, right? And so I
Hmm.
had this dream, and I still stayed for years after this dream, but I was scared to remove the leech. And I remember in the dream, I finally pulled the leech off, and it didn't hurt. And I set the leech on the ground, and the leech slithered away. And for some reason, that was such a powerful, like Gina, almost like Gina, you can let go, and you're going to hurt for a little while, but this, you're not going to be drained anymore. It's like
Right.
that leech that was been sucking you dry, you removed it, you took it off. Again, I wasn't any closer to leaving, but I just remember that dream. So I journaled about it because it was so powerful. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to forget this,
Right.
you
And
know?
I feel like things like that happen because I know I had situations like that happen over time. And I feel like they're just getting us more prepared for that exit that we are eventually going to make. I really do.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely. Because it was a little stepping stone, right? It was a
Yeah.
stepping stone. Oh, okay, so now you have finally ended the abusive relationship. You have broke free. You did all these things. You put them in place. Might I say, what a strong person it takes to do what you did. That is
Yeah.
such strength that you exhibited.
Mhm.
So is this pretty close to the inception of the podcast, of the 12 pillars? Like, how, tell me how that timeline.
Yeah. So it ended, and then, it was a couple years. Well, it wasn't even a couple years. My parents crossed over 4 years ago, so 2021 now.
Okay.
And they died 14 hours apart, and we had a double funeral. It was crazy. It was
Wow.
crazy. And
What?
you know, and then it wasn't long after that another one of my grandsons died, and I was struggling a lot emotionally because of all of the losses, like back to
Right.
back,
Oh, yeah.
and even if you want out of a relationship like that, there's still a period of time where you're healing and growing. And then I had all these deaths, these big deaths in my family, right, kind of back to back,
Oh, yeah.
and
That is a
it was
lot of
wild.
loss to process in a short period of time. And we've talked about grief and loss on this show
Oh, yeah.
multiple
Mhm.
times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people don't notice is the invisible losses. And even leaving an abusive relationship, there is a loss of identity.
Oh,
That's a
Mhm.
yes.
part of that too.
Oh, yes.
Um, and that's a lot for you to have been carrying
Yeah.
in a short period of time.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I got to the place where I had gotten with a guy who, and like we're not together now, but I actually still live on his property, but
Mm-hmm.
we're very, very good friends, and he created this amazing space for me to just grow and like explore my spirituality, and like just take care of myself. It's been
Yeah.
incredible,
Mm-hmm.
and I did the course on coaching, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was going through all of this emotional stuff, and I didn't want to go take something, you know what I mean? I didn't want to go to a doctor and get a pill because I'm very much into holistic health, but I knew I needed something, and I only take natural stuff. And so I use doTERRA oils. I don't know if y'all are familiar with
Yeah.
Oh,
doTERRA
yeah.
essential
Oh,
Yeah.
oils
yeah.
or not,
And
but
we're
they
holistic
have,
too. Both of us are
yes,
Yeah.
holistic too.
Hmm.
they have a few products that are absolutely amazing. And I have another friend who does doTERRA oils as well, and she has her own little oil group. And she posted this testimonial for this lady who got herself off of pharmaceutical meds for depression and anxiety, and through this regimen with doTERRA. So Steve mentioned it to me, and I said, well, let me just, because he said, you're so, what did he say, moody. He said, you're so moody. And he didn't say it in a way that was like condescending or anything, just like, what can we do to help you feel better? Because you're obviously struggling,
Yeah.
because I couldn't stop crying. Some days I would be mad, but most of the time I was just crying nonstop.
Sure.
And so I got on this stuff with doTERRA. And by the third day, I had so much, everything looked clear to me. Like I felt so much calmer inside. It was,
Really?
it was incredible. I felt like I was me again, you know? It was amazing.
Wow. Wow.
So then, a couple years went by, and then I started my podcast when I first started it. It's been, what, about 2.5 years now. But when I first started it, it wasn't spiritually speaking. It was called Eternal Evolution of Self. And I was interviewing life coaches, and we were talking, all this stuff was really good stuff, but it wasn't necessarily spiritual. It was just interviews with life coaches talking about how they help people with different issues and stuff like that. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to fully own this spiritual person that I am, because I've been spiritual my entire life. Even though I was raised Pentecostal, and I kind of had to hide who I was quite a bit, because I've always been able to see spirit, even when I was a little girl, starting then. And it's always been very natural for me. So then I decided to fully step into this space. But with all the coaching, different courses that I took and everything, I created this self-love course, because I feel like self-love is at the foundation of everything. And if we truly and deeply and unshakably love ourselves, it affects every single thing we do in our lives, from how we present ourselves at work, how we present ourselves to our children, how we present ourselves to our mates, how we present ourselves to ourselves, most importantly, because we refuse to tolerate things anymore that we would have tolerated before. I mean, when someone raises their voice to me in a conversation, I'm like, oh, you're going to have to lower your voice, because I don't allow people to yell at me anymore. I just don't. And if that's the only way that person knows how to communicate, then the conversation has to be over, because I'm not going to tolerate being yelled at. There's so many different, having someone be disrespectful or mean to me. There's a plethora of ways you can say something and get your point across and be nice at the same time.
Correct.
I know it's true, because I watched my dad do it. My dad could cut people down to size in a nanosecond, never raise his voice, never say a cuss word, and never be mean, not one single time, and he could put them in their place. And so it is possible. And I read it, and I feel like you'll both appreciate this, but Gina, being that you were in a really abusive relationship too, I know that you will. I read this meme that someone just recently posted, and it said, no matter how mad a man is at you, he should still treat you with respect. Because anger doesn't excuse bad behavior. You can be as pissed off as you want to be. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being angry. Nothing. It's how you act when you're angry that becomes the problem.
Yeah.
So true.
And that goes the other direction too. No matter how angry we get, we should always treat our spouses or our significant others with respect. The same goes from parent to child as well, and child to parent,
or friend.
It's really every interaction that we have,
every relationship. So true.
Wow.
Exactly.
So tell me, I'm interested in a little more detail about how did you go from someone who tolerated the intensity of abuse that you experienced to someone whose life now is about self-love? Like, I want to know how you got from there to there. What was that evolution like for you?
I feel like it was long, and then I feel like it was short all at the same time, if that makes sense, because like when that relationship was over, I promised myself, and I'm like, of all of the things I've done in my life, this is one thing that is going to stand firm, and I'm going to follow through with this thing. If I don't follow through with anything else in my life, it has to be that I am done being treated that way. I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't deserve that. No one deserves that. No one.
Correct.
And
that was probably one of the expressions of loving yourself.
Yes.
Holding firm to that promise that you made to yourself was one of probably the first acts of self-love, or one of them, right? Because
it's one of the biggest ones. Absolutely.
Had to be. And I know firsthand how hard that is. You know, when you lose your sense of self because you're so beat down, you
Mhm.
know, it's taken me so long to find Gina again. I mean, she's always been in there. She's
Yeah.
always been right there, but to start to have a voice again and what do I like? What do I don't like? What am I willing to put up with? What am I willing to not put up with? What do I stand for? What are my boundaries again?
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that I am a firm believer in is that we give our power away way too easily, way too easily.
Oh,
So
yes.
any thought that enters my mind is like, am I giving that person power or am I standing in my own power? Because
Mm,
fuck you if you think I'm giving you my power. I'm not going to do it. I'm not
yeah,
anymore, not ever. No
not
way,
anymore.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I would have those thoughts and, even different things that bothered me. I'm like, that's still bothering me. That still really bothers me when someone does it. Like, for instance, when I was married, and I talked to my son about this not too long ago because he was here, and I asked him if he remembered his dad doing this to me, and he said no. But every single time I would take a nap, or I'd fall,
Hmm.
well, not take a nap necessarily, but you know how you fall asleep on the couch sometimes or whatever. I would fall
Sure.
asleep on the couch. He would come and stand over my face and smack his hands together really loudly right in front of my face, which is very startling, and
I
so
was
Yes.
you
gonna
come out of
say
your
that
sleep and
I'd
have
be
sounds
panic.
pissed.
like intentionally dysregulating your nervous system on a
It
regular
was
basis. That's
horrid.
awful.
I'd be
And
pissed.
so when I would be with Steve, he would smack his hands like that, but not over my face or anything, nothing to do
Just,
with me, but like at the dogs or just for some other reason. And I would find myself just jumping and cringing. And I'm like,
Oh,
I've been divorced from that guy for almost 20 years. Like, why is that
wow.
still bothering me? And I was like, that is me giving him that power still.
Yeah.
So when you
Hmm.
look at it in that way, are you going to allow him to have that power over you? He doesn't deserve that power over me,
Mm,
so
mm-mm.
I'm not going to give it to him. So those are different things that I use to help me, stand in my own power and believe in myself. And it's a lot of little things. I don't feel like it's one big thing most of the time. I
mhm,
feel like it's a lot of little shifts, a lot of reminding yourself and
Hmm.
asking yourself, is that true about yourself? One of the things I find that we like to say to ourselves is that we're lazy. We'll even say it, I'm taking a lazy day today. Are you though? Are you taking a lazy day or are you taking a rest day? Because those
Mm,
have
yeah,
completely different energy. And I don't use the word lazy anymore. I'm not being
yeah,
lazy. I'm resting.
good.
I'm giving myself that time that I need to nourish my soul and my being and my
Hmm.
body. Because if we don't listen to our bodies and give our body the rest we need, then we're going to end up getting sick and have to give them the rest we need,
hmm,
Hmm.
yeah,
and it's not going to be enjoyable at that point,
Mm-mm.
you
yeah,
know,
Yeah.
so
yeah. Do you remember? Gene and I were talking on a recent episode about the Four Agreements. Do you remember the Four Agreements? That book?
I do. I don't
Yeah,
know
right.
that I've read that book all the way
Yeah.
through, but I remember
It's
hearing about
phenomenal and it's easy. And we talk about it just because it's such an easy read for
It is.
anybody who is looking to move forward in their growth and their healing process. It's just easy. Like my 10-year-old daughter could read it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's short. Anyway, one of them is be impeccable with your word. And on
Mhm.
the surface, that looks like don't lie. And don't lie is part of it. Be truthful, speak what you really
Hmm.
mean.
Hmm.
But one of the primary tenets as be impeccable with your word is do not use the spoken word against yourself.
Mm.
Words have energy to them.
Yep.
Words are
Yeah.
powerful. They have a
Yes.
vibration.
Yes.
And when we use our words against ourselves, as in just talking shit about
I'm
yourself,
being lazy or
I'm late. Yeah, I'm being
yeah.
lazy or self-deprecating humor.
Mm,
I know
Mhm.
lots of people who
hmm.
like to use self-deprecating humor and it
Yep.
gives like it's so cringe to me and I will literally say to people you are not permitted to talk shit about yourself in my presence.
Yep.
Sorry, it's not
Yeah.
allowed. Um,
Hmm.
but the same thing goes for ourselves.
Right.
So speaking badly about ourselves is literally programming ourselves
Hmm.
to
Mhm.
that fundamental belief, whether you know you're doing it or not, whether you think you're joking or not. No, you're not. You're not. It's not a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a
So
friend who
that,
said, "Well, the universe knows I'm joking." I'm like, "Does it
no,
though?"
they don't.
But
The
there's an
Take a
words,
look at your life.
undercurrent.
Does
words,
it?
yeah, words have energy, and that is what you're broadcasting.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I love what you said about just making tiny adjustments in the way that we speak.
Yeah.
Another example that this is my favorite example is when we talk about desires, what do we use as common vernacular nowadays in the modern age? We don't talk about my desire, da da da. We say, I want this. I want this,
Right.
I want this, I want this. Well, the word want has a vibration to it, and it's lack. The original definition of the word want back in Old English before Webster got a hold of things and changed all the meanings of the words, the word want meant to lack for most of human history. So when you're like, I want, I want, I want, what you're actually saying and what you're actually broadcasting is I lack, I lack, I lack. And guess what you're going to get more of?
Ah,
So
That's a good
absolutely.
example.
little adjustments. You going from I'm taking a lazy day to I'm taking a rest day. Honoring yourself, recognizing the value and the importance of the words that we choose. I love that, Dee. I'm so glad you brought that up. That is such a big deal.
Yeah, it really is. I'm really, really being way more even mindful of language than I used to be because I realize now how powerful it is. And I actually realized the other day a certain word that I say, which is, one of the worst cuss words that you can say is GD. And I have said that plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day I was walking across the yard and I said it out loud about something. I can't remember what it was. And then I was like, maybe I should stop saying that because do I really want God to damn it? Do I?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
seriously, do I?
Yeah.
So maybe I need to
point.
stop
Yeah.
saying that. And it's been really amazing how these things are just coming to me in ways. And I'm like you, I will call my friends out on their stuff. Like I have a friend who says it's a pain in my ass all the time. And we had a conversation about it and she would still say it. And so I'll just go, is it though? Like,
Is it
do you
though?
really want it to be? Because like, if you keep saying that, you're going to have hemorrhoids the size of my head if you keep that up. Be still my heart. I know I see that a lot on posts when people post a really beautiful picture, a really cute picture of something. They'll put "Be still my heart," and I'm like, yeah, but do you really? Is that what you're really asking? Because I'm just saying.
I don't want my heart to be still.
No, we
I
need to
don't-
keep it moving at
no,
all
yeah.
times. Never stopping.
No.
So that we're all going to stop. Our hearts are all going to stop at some point. But
Yeah,
let's.
Let's
correct.
not
We don't
speed
have
it
to
up.
rush it.
We don't have to speed it up. I got a lot more living to do.
I know.
Yeah, me too. I have a lot
All
more
right.
things to do. A lot more people to help and everything.
Yes.
So I'm ready to still do some stuff.
So, Dee, do you want to give us a little tidbit about the 12 pillars of self-love? Can you just give us a little teaser and just because I'm so curious. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to talk outside of our recording to find more out about your little course. So you just want to give us some little nuggets?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
well, it's about getting to know yourself really and
Mhm.
finding out what you like and finding out what healthy boundaries is part of the 12 pillars of self-love because I feel like that's one of the things I know I didn't have them. I was such a people pleaser and the thing about people pleasing is that bar is never in the same place twice, right? and we're exhausted. Who is so exhausting being a
Yeah.
people pleaser? And so putting healthy boundaries in place is super, super important for ourselves and also to teach other people how to treat us,
Correct.
and then maybe they can learn from us doing it and implement them in their own lives too. So that's a really, really big part of it. Internal dialogue is also another thing that I talk deeply about because it's really important. We're awesome and we get to freaking say we're awesome and not be embarrassed about it. And it doesn't come from a place of being, egotistical or being arrogant or anything like that. I'm going to sit here and tell you I'm awesome because I am, but I will also tell you how awesome you are. That's where I come from. That's the space that I work from. And it's okay. And to admit that we're good at something, it's super important. I make twisted wire art and I am good at it. I'm incredibly talented at it. I am not the only person who is incredibly talented at twisted wire art. And I will point those people out to you as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that comes from a deep sense of self-love is the confidence that you can lift other people up without thinking that it's going to take something away from you. That is a huge thing for us to remember as humans that we can, no one is taking anything away from us. What is meant for us is always going to find its way to us if we allow it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's right.
The idea that someone else having means that there's less for me whatever it is that we're talking about is such a misunderstanding in life.
Mm-hmm.
The universe is an abundant place. There's no limitations to what we can create and what we can be to have, create, and generate in our lives.
Exactly.
Except us. We're the ones who get in the way of all of that.
We do it.
And
We absolutely
right.
do. And
Right.
and I am writing it into an ebook. That's one of the things that
Mhm.
I came to me lately. I have a friend of mine who does dream interpretations, and he was telling me he's writing, he's almost finished with his ebook about it. And I thought that is such a great idea. And I already have this program written. So how hard is it going to be for me to put it into a book? Not very.
Yeah.
So, and I'm already a
Yeah.
writer anyway. I have been since I was 12. So that's going to be coming soon too. I've already started it.
That's exciting.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is so exciting. If we had listeners listening today that are maybe, say, stuck in the cycle of an abusive cycle, or stuck with struggles and thoughts of not loving themselves or not feeling worthy, do you have any advice or any words of wisdom that you've learned through your journey that could maybe help affect somebody else? What would you say if you had one bit of advice or wisdom for them?
Yeah, so like we are so good at listening to other people's opinions. And, like I said, with the piece of paper and pen in my brain scenario, ask yourself, is it true? Is it true? Because most of the time you will find out that what they're saying is not true. You know in your soul that that is not true about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know it. And
True.
so if it's not true, then you don't have to believe it about yourself. And if it is true, you can take a deeper look at it and see if it's something you can change. And almost always there's something that we can change in ourselves. If someone says, well, I don't even know what word to use right now, because I was going to say selfish, but most of the times we're not being selfish, because that is a word that's really interesting to me, because a lot of times we get told we're selfish because we're not doing what someone else wants us to do.
Yes.
So are we then actually the selfish one, or are they the selfish one for wanting us to conform to what they want us to do?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
Yes.
we got to really take a deeper look at that. So I feel like just asking yourself if it's true.
Okay.
And if it is something that, like, for instance, a true thing that I found out about myself here recently is that I had a lack of follow through. I was seeing it in someone else. They didn't tell me that I had a lack of follow through, but I saw it in them, and I was like, wow, that's like, it's so in my face. And then a few days later, I had this huge epiphany that, oh my gosh, like I have a lack of follow through. So looking deeply at my own lack of follow through, I realized that's something I can easily shift. I can just start following through with things. That's, not a difficult thing to change. So if it is something like that we can take a look at and change in our lives, then we get to do that. But always do it for yourself. Always do it for yourself and not somebody else, because it's not sustainable when you do it for someone else.
Yeah, just make a different choice.
Yeah.
If you have an awareness, it's such an important piece of the puzzle. When you have an awareness of something within yourself, that you have been making a choice that is based on your limitation programs, based on negative beliefs about yourself. When you realize it and you have the awareness, oh wow, I've been holding on to this thing, or oh wow, I've been behaving in this way. You don't then have to like self-flagellate and get down on yourself and be mad at yourself about it and judge and blame, shame, guilt, all that stuff. Just make a new choice.
Yeah.
The thing that you just became aware of was put in front of you as a reflection so that you could spot it. That's the whole point. And when you spot it, just own it. Okay, good thing I'm cute. Make a new choice.
That's exactly right.
That's Melanie saying. She says it pretty much every podcast.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm cute.
Do you think I'm cute? Because
That's her
okay,
little-
not perfect. I'm making new choices all the time, but in lieu of self-deprecation and doing the blame shame thing, I could just recognize, okay, I was making a choice for a really long time in this one area that is less than I could have been making. Okay, fine, no big deal. Make a new choice. Make a little joke about it because it's funny.
Yeah, and we're not meant to make all of these choices at one time in one fell swoop. I mean, like that would just fry our brains, so we're meant to make these incremental changes as time goes on, and we're ready to move into this different phase of our life. I heard somebody say something on a podcast the other day: you're not ready in a moment. Okay, becoming ready doesn't happen in a moment. It happens over increments of time and different experiences that we have that put us in a place of being ready.
So true. It's the additive effect of every small little choice you make, and part of just rewiring the brain, creating new neural pathways, right? I think that's it. We talk about that a lot too on the show, but I think that's part of it. So
do you want to tell everybody where to find you and tell everybody about your podcast?
Yes. Oh, my podcast is Spiritually Speaking. Thank you so much. It's on YouTube. You can find me pretty much everywhere at Eternal Soul Evolution, except Facebook, and I'm Dee May. I haven't changed that yet. I need to do that. So, but my website is at eternalsoulevolution.com, and my YouTube channel is at Eternal Soul Evolution. You can find me on Insta and LinkedIn. I'm also on Substack, and it's all Eternal Soul Evolution. So.
All right, great. And we'll put all that stuff down in the show notes. That's great. Dee, this has been such a fun conversation. I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen.
Yes, me too. I didn't expect to go quite so deep into the abuse that I've been through, but I feel like it's important for people to know that no matter what you've been through, that you can turn it around. You can turn it around and you can learn to love yourself and realize that you deserve to be treated well.
Yeah, and that applies to all kinds of situations of whatever deep wounding any of us are working to overcome, whether it's relationship thing or loss or physical ailment or anything. Coming home to the truth of who you are and letting go of all of the layers of false beliefs that we have about ourselves that are just layered on top of the truth, which is that we are love. We just have to get back down to that. And thank you for being such a great reminder for us about the importance of recognizing that.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So folks, if you have enjoyed this show, please go down on whatever platform you're on and hit whatever button is down there. Sometimes it's subscribe, sometimes it's follow, like, share, whatever. Hit that little button. That is the very best way to support this show and to help us grow and to reach as many people as we possibly can, because we all get by with a little help from our friends, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. Gosh, we do.
And we all need to be having these conversations just to support each other and remind ourselves that we are not alone in whatever healing journey we're on. We're all in it together here.
And Dee, I just want to say this was therapeutic for me, just this conversation. So thank you. This was therapeutic. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.